Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This is going to be I believe it's the last of the Halloween or the horror themed videos that I've been making for this month. So I figured I would end these types of this series for this particular month, this time of year, with my top 15 horror books in my collection. Now, before I go into this, it's a little different than top 15 horror covers. These are horror books, books that I feel have a specific meaning, not just in my collection, not just my own personal opinion on what I think is the best in my collection, but what I also think that a lot of other people who know of these books would probably feel the same way. Of course, there's always a difference of opinion along the way, but that's my thinking when I decided to make this list. So let's get started. I will grab a few of them and we will start. At number 15 in my collection, I think that Mystery Tales number 9 comes in. Great horror cover from Atlas. As we all know, Atlas would become Marvel Comics in 1961. But a really cool morgue cover. This was actually in the first video of this series of Halloween type videos I was making this month. It was with morgue covers, and there was a great morgue cover for you. And I think a lot of people would agree that that's a pretty good book to have. Now, here's one that I think that people definitely know of, have seen, and would definitely agree with. At number 14 on the list, we have The Haunt of Fear, number 17. This is actually the second number 17 in the run. Now, I know as I do books like this, ECs, and other books as well, others might disagree at the placement on this list. Well, why isn't that higher, or why isn't that lower, or why is that even here? Again, even though I'm trying to come up with a list of books that I think most people that know of them would agree with, it's hard to be completely objective. It's pretty difficult. That was number 14. At number 13, we have Crime Suspense Stories, number 17. It's 17, right? I always get this confused with 16. 16 is a great one, too. At number 13, Crime Suspense Stories, number 17. The infamous suicide cover. At first, it doesn't look like suicide, but then when you look at the mirror, the reflection in the mirror, you see that it is this guy actually blowing his own brains out. It's oddly drawn, but it's purposely drawn that way to, I guess, deceive the person looking at it at first. At number 12, now this might be a little bit more subjective, I think, than some of the others that are on this list, but it's a book you really don't see at all, especially in this grade. Men's Adventures, number 26. Another great morgue cover by Atlas. Atlas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this came out, I think, at the same time, or am I getting this confused with something else? Let me just double check. I think there's something else on this list. No. They're a year apart. Okay, for a moment I was saying to myself, okay, seems that Atlas was really into morgue covers at this time. These both came out in March, or as you know, March, but a year apart. Okay, so both great covers. And like I was saying earlier with the Mystery Tales 9, this one also appeared in my morgue covers video. There are other morgue covers out there that I don't have that I'd like to get, but those were the ones that I had, and that's a great one. All right, that was number 12, I believe. If I get the numbering mixed up, please forgive me. I believe it's number 12. So that would make this next one number 11. This is a book that I want to upgrade for 2024, hopefully. I haven't had so much luck with getting my 2023 books. I've gotten lucky with some, but we'll see how it goes. But this would be a book that I would put on my books I want to get for 2024, an upgrade. So here we have Shock Suspense Stories, number 6 at number 11. I think a lot of people know of this cover. Great cover. Great story, too. Okay, now we're in the top 10. At number 10, we have The Haunt of Fear, number 16. This is the first appearance of the Old Witch. I have a 4.0 copy, as you can see. This is something that I would like to upgrade down the line. I wouldn't mind getting like a 5.5 or something like that, but we'll see. It's not quite ready for a 2024 want list, but you never know. Here we have it. Moving along. We have another Haunt of Fear coming up at number 9, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I'm not mistaken with the numbering. At number 9, I would say that Haunt of Fear, the first issue, number 15, is definitely, or at least would definitely be on someone's top horror lists. This is another book that needs to be upgraded. This is like a 2.5 copy. So again, down the line, it's going to be upgraded. Again, it's not 2024 upgrade, maybe 2025, but we'll see what happens. But at number 9, Haunt of Fear, number 15, which is actually Haunt of Fear number 1. At number 8, we have Tales from the Crypt, number 20. This is the issues before this, the 3 issues before this were called Cryptid Terror. This is the first time it's called Tales from the Crypt. So sometimes people say this is Tales from the Crypt 1. I don't know. I think Cryptid Terror 17 is number 1. But first time it was called Tales from the Crypt. And instead of it saying terror, it said strange over there. At number 7, we have another first issue. We have the first issue of the Vault of Horror. Now this, Vault of Horror number 12. Now this was a book that I did upgrade in 2023. I don't know if it was necessarily on my 2023 want list, but something came up. And it's a 3.5. Again, I'd like to upgrade this to maybe a 4.5 or a 5 down the line, but it's definitely better than the copy I had before this, which was, I think, a 2.5. It may not seem like that much of a bump, but no, it was a big bump, because this front and back looks so much better than the one I had. Now this is the book that I was talking about. This is at number 6, I believe. Now this is the book. Let me just double check my number. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay. Number 6. All right. Got it. Previously, when I showed the Men's Adventures number 26, it came out March of 1954, and I originally thought that did the Mystery Tales come out at the same time? Well, the Mystery Tales actually came out March 1953. This is the book, though, that came out the same time that Men's Adventures 24. Men's Adventures 26. And I think that month, the guys at the Atlas office had a morgue. They were on a morgue kick, because they also put out Mystic number 28. This is an upgraded copy I was able to get. I got to get this reholdered. It's like oddly centered, or centered. It's not really the right word. Oddly aligned, so to speak. So at number 6, we have Mystic 28. Awesome. Sorry, my finger's covering. Awesome morgue cover by Joe Manili. Now we're at number 5. This is like one of my favorites. And this is another book I'd like to upgrade down the line. But it's a really, really cool book. And this came out 2 months later from Atlas, of May of 1954. Here we have Mystery Tales, number 19. Really cool zombie cover. And there he is. You saw this book in the previous video, Cemetery Covers. Can't go wrong showing it again. So that was, I believe, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. That was number 5. So this is number 4. Now we're getting down to it, right? War Against Crime number 10. This is the first appearance of the Vault Keeper. It's funny, this story here. Now I had this book raw before I had it slabbed. I honestly, when I probably should have had this thing pressed and cleaned. It might have pulled out a 4.0, but I was like, maybe I won't. So we'll see what happens in the future. But anyway, it's not a bad looking book front and back. It's got some issues, of course. It wouldn't be in the 3.5, perhaps 4.0 range if it didn't. But this actual story here that's going on here wasn't even in the book. Like I was saying, I had this book raw. before I had it slabbed, and I'm flipping through the pages, and I was like, oh, where's this story? Where's the story that seems to fit what's going on the cover? Wasn't there. Now we're at number 3. At number 3 comes this. I got to get this graded, and eventually I'll probably get it upgraded, but that's another story and another video. But at number 3, we have The Crypt of Terror, number 17. This is what I consider Tales from the Crypt number 1. Again, some may disagree because the title is in Tales from the Crypt. The title became Tales from the Crypt with number 20. But I still believe that this is Tales from the Crypt number 1, with Crypt of Terror number 17 at number 3. Number 2 in my top horror books. This one should come as no surprise to have such a high number. We have crime. Even though it's crime, I'm saying horror. It's a crime book, but crime suspense stories number 22, the infamous decapitation cover. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is probably the most infamous cover in Precode history. It's not the best cover. It may not be the king of the Precode horror books. There are so many others that you can make a very valid argument and have a pretty decent debate on. But I think this is the most infamous. Not the best decapitation cover, but certainly not a bad one either. This, I think, is the book that became the poster child for juvenile delinquency from this the Seduction of the Innocent trials in the mid-50s. Excuse me. This one right here. There were many books that were showcased during that trial. Many books that had far worse covers, but I think that's the one that always gets the credit as being the poster child for that time, for that incident. And number 1, again, this should come as no surprise. This is my number 1 Precode horror book, and it is Crime Patrol 15. As you know, those that have been watching my channel for the last 5 years, I've been on longer than that, but this book has been in my collection for 5 years, so it's been around most of the time that I've been on YouTube. Anyone that's been watching for that length of time, you know that this is probably one of my favorite books in my collection, and definitely one of the crown jewels, not just in Precode horror or EC, whatever little subcategory you want to give it. It's one of my top books, period. You know, it's definitely one of my top books when I match it up against some of the superhero books, when it sits beside some of the Amazing Spider-Man books and the X-Men books and all the other different types of books. This still holds its own. It holds its own in interest from other people. It holds its own in value among those that I just mentioned. And certainly it holds its own when it comes to the absolute love I have for the book. And it's the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. All right. So that was my top 15 horror books in my collection. Maybe I'll do this again next year because, as you know, watching, I'm constantly upgrading and I'm constantly adding new pieces to the collection. You know, I said 2022 going into 2023 when it comes to my collecting, that was probably the year of the upgrades, and it still is. It should be the years of upgrades, because that's something that's going to be going on for a very long time, where I'm very heavily focused on upgrading books, both in horror and superhero. But I also think that as this year is coming to a close, and I'll probably repeat it again in another video, that 2023 in particular, it's not only, you know, the year of upgrades, or the second year of upgrades, whatever way you want to look at it, because I really started upgrading years ago, but when I really started to heavily focus on upgrades was 2022. But I think it's definitely going to go down in my collecting life, the year of non-EC Precode horror, because that's when really the floodgates started opening up, and books you saw in this video and books you haven't seen yet and books you've seen in previous videos, Precode, Atlas, and a few others, really started to enter my collection, where for years of my collecting, going back to when I first started collecting, you never would have seen books like that. Never. So it's been a really fun, it's nice to know that my collecting has kind of like evolved, which I think makes it even more interesting to continue. Some people hit that plateau, hit that ceiling, and then it just sort of stagnates. I do a couple upgrades here and there, and that's really it. For me, it's like the ceiling keeps getting higher and higher. Like, oh, we started upgrade. I got a lot of these superhero books. Now let's start getting precodes and upgrade the precodes, and then move on to the next thing. It's something that makes, I think, a hobby like this lifelong, like lifelong learning. Thank you for watching, everybody. What was your favorite on this list? Take care.